Welcome. Thank you very much for another Oppenheimer Who Is with Jason Gross. Jason, big question. How do most people know you?
Well, most people probably know me as one of the inaugural 2017, Oppenheimer 20 over 20s. But outside of that, a lot of people probably know me more by the bow tie than by the name. I've been a regular bow tie wearer since the early 90s, back before they were popular, back before you could buy them on the internet. And so, I will say one of my greatest accomplishments in life is teaching myself how to tie the bow tie without the benefit of YouTube. To be honest, though, most people recently know me from my work in the insurance industry and in the innovation and insurtech space, being the innovation leader for EMC. But so much of that is really around that larger insurtech and innovation startup community. Play active roles in the Global Insurance Accelerator, the Global Insurance Symposium, and some of those other forums. But then there's also a lot of people that know me from my earlier careers, either doing strategy or IT work for Nationwide and Principal Financial Group. And then going way back, I spent, about 10, 12 years working in the political arena here in Iowa in the Midwest. And there are still some folks who know me from back in those days, and probably an even smaller that know me for some of my side hobbies and interests. I love to paint. Oop, wrong shoulder. And serve on too many boards and commissions, as my wife would say. But most proud to be known as, whenever it says, "Oh, you're Zoe or Lucy's dad." Those are probably my favorite titles.
Well, you just did the virtual art center tour, didn't you? Did you manage that?
Yeah. So one of the technologies that our company at EMC has been exploring is using Matterport three-dimensional cameras and their technology to build virtual tours. A lot of people have been, comfortable using that technology for like real estate home tours for quite some time. We've actually found a lot of potential applications for that in insurance, for training purposes, for claims purposes, et cetera. And once the coronavirus shut everything down, including our beloved local Des Moines Art Center, realized we had an opportunity to leverage that technology to help bring that tremendous institution available to not only those here in Des Moines, but quite frankly, we've had people log in from, we know, all over the world to take a virtual tour of our collection.
I mean, it is one of, I'm blanking on his name. I want to call him Pi, but it's a Pei, one of the wings.
Yeah, the I.M.Pei wing.
I.M.Pei. Yeah,
for many of us, actually, the architecture of the Des Moines Art Center is one of the highlights of the entire collection. You have the original 1948 building by Eli Saarinen, that very kind of low profile, the stone, the wood. Then in the 1960s, I.M.Pei, this was when he was just coming on the scene. Created that big cavernous part of the museum with the new auditorium on the back, paying a lot of respect to Saarinen. So you can't really see that big concrete from the road unless you look very carefully. You can see kind of the butterfly ceiling. And then that's completely juxtaposed to the Meyer wing that was added to the Art Center in the late 1980s, right there on Grand Avenue, the big, very contemporary white ceramic, kind of in your face, which I'm sure some people at the time didn't appreciate. But I love how all three of those just amazing architects are represented in one space in good old Des Moines, Iowa.
And see, these are the type of questions I need to save for the overtime, because otherwise we're going to blow 15 minutes, because we got three other important questions. So, sorry. I guess, anyway, if you could wake up tomorrow, do anything, location, experience, none of it matters. You just get to wake up anywhere you want, doing anything. Where would you be and what would you do?
I already do a lot of the things that I want to do. I look forward to someday being able to do more of them. And if I could wake up tomorrow to have that freedom and flexibility, that's what I would do. For myself in my semi-retirement years, I see myself taking time to write a book or two and maybe go on the public speaking circuit. I already post a lot of things about leadership and strategy on LinkedIn and through some other online posts. And I look forward to having time to kind of bring that all together into a more cohesive body of work. I love to spend more time in the studio painting. I don't get to do nearly enough of it. I actually just finished this piece recently. It's actually, timing-wise, it's up for auction right now. I donated it to the Iowa Association of Business and Industry Foundation, which puts on great programs, Leadership Iowa, Business Horizons, Leadership Iowa University. So it's up for auction this week, closes Friday. Just go out and search for the ABI Foundation auction. And then the third thing, Chris, that I look forward to doing is just having time to travel. You know, I have two daughters in high school, so we're very rooted. I love Iowa. I never have any intention to live anyplace else. But I think I might have a desire to try the van or RV life for a year or two, just for the opportunity to travel around. And I'll tell you the inspiration real quick, just to eat up all of our time and completely blow past it. You know, one of my favorite TV personalities and reporters was Charles Kuralt, you know, the original host of CBS Sunday Morning, still my favorite TV show to this day. But when he retired from CBS Sunday Morning, he took a year and spent 1 month in his 12 favorite places in America and kind of timed it out, you know, so to be in Washington, D.C., you know, when the trees are in bloom, you know, to be in Portland during Jazz Fest, et cetera, et cetera. And then he wrote a book about it, of course, but I thought that would be a pretty cool way to spend a year is, you know, there's so many places I want to have time to get to know. I don't want to live there. And, you know, I don't want to just spend like a weekend or a week there, but there are a lot of places where I would love to spend maybe a month or two just to really kind of get to know the culture a little bit better.
I'm noting, I was about to ask you what your top ones are, but I'm putting that for overtime.
Yeah.
If you were king of the world, could change anything, snap your fingers, it's done. What are the top 3 things you would change first? What's your first 3 things where you'd be like, this one's different?
You know, I thought a little bit about this, and I still struggle with this a little bit. You know, from my own political and personal philosophies and convictions, you know, I'm kind of that quasi-libertarian, you know, Buddhist, you know, with some Christianity in there and with just a lot of Midwestern, you know, self-reliance, common sense. And one of the things that I love about Iowa and has kept me in Iowa is I love the people. And while, you know, some of the recent discourse notwithstanding, I really think that the people of Iowa are better educated, more polite, more considerate. Maybe it's sometimes too nice with the Iowa nice thing. But as I've traveled so much around this country and around the world, we just make people respect and be nicer to each other. You know, and the libertarian in me says, I believe in a limited government, and in many ways, you know, free market and free enterprise. I think many things that have been labeled such over the last few decades have not actually been that. And that most people, if left to their own devices, are going to do the right thing. And I have that trust and belief in my fellow man with just some basic rules, you know? Don't do harm to other people. Don't hurt other people. Don't take things that don't belong to you. I think in some ways we've overcomplicated our society and our world. Maybe it has needed it because we do live in a pretty complicated time. But, you know, part of me still hearkens and longs for that simpler part of our society. You know, the third thing is I wish everyone would take a little more time and slow down. And this is someone who has often been a type A personality, work hard, play hard, burn the candle at both ends. I've spent plenty of time doing that. But I've also been fortunate enough to take time, you know, not as often as I would like, but to completely unplug, to take off for, you know, what some might consider a sabbatical. We try to cram too much in. We try to do too much. You know, there's an old saying that I've used for many years, and that is, I used to say I wanted it all or I wanted nothing. And then I realized they were one and the same. So I wish everyone a little bit of Zen and a little bit of understanding that they don't need to just chase the next thing, the next opportunity, the next purchase, the next acquisition. That, you know what, life is pretty good if you just take some time, slow down, and let it play out. Well, that's not what I was planning on saying, but I'll go with that.
Well, you better not use that for number 4 then, because number 4 is most innovative failure.
Yeah, most innovative failure. And I have had my share. And I really am struggling to come up with, what is the most innovative? Because when I talk about innovation, and I'm going to go on a tangent here real quick, Chris, but imagine
That's what this is for. That's the point.
When I talk about innovation, I always say, first off, it's fleeting. Because whatever the new technology, whatever the new shiny object is today, it's tomorrow's legacy. Innovation is also relative, because there are things that other companies have done that we're not going to get to for a while, that whenever we do is still going to blow people's minds. But there's other things that we're already doing that I know other companies haven't even thought of yet, that whenever they get to it, it'll blow their minds. So it's relative. And it's also, it's kind of cyclical. The notion, what's old is new again, what comes around goes around. And so many of the things that we're doing in the innovation space today, they've been done before, they've been tried before, but now we just have, new technology, we have more horsepower, we have more access to things that we couldn't have even fathomed, not so long ago. But I'm also pretty persistent. So I'm not one who tends to look at something as a failure. I absolutely believe you either win or you learn. And even winning is fleeting. It's about as fleeting as losing, because nothing's permanent. So you win today, you're back in a race, another game, another competition tomorrow. Because, those things that didn't succeed, it wasn't that the idea was bad. It's just that we didn't quite have the right piece. Maybe one piece of technology wasn't quite there, or maybe culturally, the organization wasn't quite ready for it. I'm a pretty persistent bastard, and so some things that maybe were perceived as failures at a time, I'm still chomping and still chipping away at it, because we also we have limited resources, we have limited time. You have to pick and choose your battles, and if that battle can't be won today, that doesn't mean you're not going to have an opportunity to win that battle down the road. So I just answered your question without answering it. How's that?
I thought that was innovative. Depends on the objective as to whether it's a failure. But I have 1,000 questions on this reframe, which, because we might make 15, I'll put right now the hard stop.